I ate a for telling off my mill for insisting my daughter doesn't have a real vagina. My 4.5-year-old daughter has a stomach bug and has been having some diarrhea. My wife needed to take our son to an APPT I needed to WFH today, so my mill came to watch after our daughter. My daughter needed to use the bathroom, and I was going to excuse myself from my online meeting, but my mill said she had it. A bit later, my daughter came up to me and asked me to wipe her. I said to her, "Didn't grandma help you? She knows how to wipe, but with her having diarrhea we're helping her." She said yes, but grandma wiped wrong. She said grandma wiped in instead of out. We've taught her to wipe out instead of in. I excused myself from my meeting to help wipe my daughter correctly. I went to find my mill in the kitchen. I asked her, "Daughter, says you wiped in instead of out?" She said, "I wiped her, you think there's a better way?" I told her it's not healthy. To wipe into the vagina, you need to wipe out. She said, "And you have a vagina?" I said no, but I have a daughter, and I won't let her get an infection by wiping poop into her vagina. She said, "Daughter doesn't have a real vagina yet, there's no chance of infecting anything." I said, "What? Of course. She has a real vagina, she's a female." She said, "Girls don't have real vaginas until they're teenagers, and that there's no chance of any infection because their vagina doesn't actually develop until they're a teenager." I was dumbfounded, and I got angry. I said to her, "You're a woman, you raised 3 daughters, I'm married to one. You can't possibly be this stupid?" She told me I'm out of line and said if I can't appreciate her help then she's leaving. I told her I'm perfectly, in fact definitely more capable than her of caring for my daughter, and that she's welcome to get out. She did leave, and about 10 minutes later my wife called me and said her mom was furious with me and said I was terrible to her and made her leave without any reason. After explaining, my wife is on my side. I ate a for defending my daughter's real vagina.
Wouldn't even be angry at Mill, I'd be deeply concerned. NTA, the first thing they tell you in the hospital when you take the baby girl home is always wipe out, never wipe in.
NTA, bacteria from improperly cleaning that area is a major cause of urinary tract infections.
NTA and Mill shouldn't be left in charge of any child anymore, ever.
NTA, urinary tract infections, bladder infections. While a tiny human is not fully developed in terms of organs, that doesn't mean should be in there. That's just spelling.
Well, she pees, so she clearly has a * urethra and can get a UTI from fecal bacteria. Your mill seems kinda ignorant. NTA.
NTA, your mill is profoundly, not for not knowing how to wipe, but for not realizing that 4-year girls have fully formed genitals. Knows what other pearls of wisdom she has in her brain.
NTA, and kudos to you for appropriately teaching your daughter on how to correctly. Wasn't asked to leave for no reason. She was belittling you in your own home for no other reason than your gender, used to undermining your ability to take care of your own kid, while unapologetic about her own inability to correctly wipe your little girl. Her comment about the of your daughter not existing until it can be basically used to reproduce is insane.
Infections only happen after puberty is such a dumb take. I'm shocked your wife made it to adulthood. If some people need to be told to keep your kids safe, then buckle up, cause here comes the F-storm.
With MIL stupidity, I would be afraid to eat in her house.
NTA obviously, but I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that your daughter did such a good job of advocating for herself in that situation. I hope you and your wife have a talk with her to reinforce that she did the right thing. ETA. Thanks for the award. We love strong girls that advocate for their bodily autonomy, and we love the parents that raise them.
Thank you. We did tell her we were very proud of her for taking good care of herself no matter what. A very strong and confident person she is becoming. Those are terrifying possibilities. I didn't even consider what her ignorance could entail. Thank you for pointing that wife is completely lovely, intelligent, and capable. If I didn't know her mom was her mom, I'd assume they were from different planets. We're trying to let both grandmas have plenty of time with their grandkids. Geez.
I loved seeing this. Great job to you, your partner, and your daughter.
Could your mill be suffering from some sort of illness like dementia or something along those lines? This seems very odd.
Don't forget that magic idea, okay, honey. You are doing SMT this way for 10 plus Y. So now is that strongly automatized thing wrong and you need to start doing it completely opposite way. It's easy.
Right? Such a bizarre thing to think. If her daughters had gotten UTIs from bubble baths or anything else, would she just ignore it? Think there, it's just baffling.
Not really true. That seems to be a generational, family cultural thing. Some people refuse to believe in genitalia for children. They seriously think that mentioning it before puberty is wrong and you will go to.
I could see how someone could grow up believing this if they were told it was true from a young age. Some women think they from the, it's not out of the realm of possibility. She thinks the doesn't develop until puberty. I doubt something like dementia is to blame.
Sometimes people will shock you at their level of intelligence. Like my friend Mill, who thinks women are basically ovens for the bun. The bun grows from the male seed which is implanted into you. The baby has zero relation to that mother. It is the father's child. I just stood there shocked. More so when her son, my friend's husband, thought that was also correct. I mean, Mill can be forgiven. She's a first-gen immigrant who came here very young and was of a generation, in her home country, where girls weren't sent to school. Her son, however, was at school with us, 2 years ahead.
Reminds me of when I worked at a store and a woman said, "I'm a nurse so I know women don't have urethras." Huh?
Your comment just made me think of something I read a few years ago. An infectious disease doctor absolutely believes that the reason so many Gen X, millennial women have chronic UTIs and chronic yeast infections was because soaps marketed for kids are excessively harsh and permanently up their microbiome. My doctor's advice to my parents was, if you wouldn't use it on yourself, don't use it on your...
My urethra just packed its bags and is taking a mental health day, thanks. Oh yeah, why are we glossing over the fact that vaginas have nothing to do with bladder infections? Rip whoever she's ever had to insert a catheter into.
Greater than NTA, your mill is profoundly dangerously not for not knowing how to wipe, but for not realizing that 4-yo girls have fully formed genitals. This is the kind of that not only results in UTIs, but could leave a child vulnerable to being abused.
At this point, grandmas were Gen Xers. I promise you, Gen X learned about anatomy and wiping.
Hey, not all of them. My parents were grandparents to my older kid at 2, guys. When I said, not all of them, I meant, not all grandparents are Gen Xers, which is why I gave the example of my boomer parents. ETA, op is of course NTA, and if Mill were ignorant. That would be one thing, but unwilling to listen to a parent and learn is quite another.
Right, the isn't the only issue. She has a that can get infections. But even if she didn't, she definitely has a urinary tract.
That's like some ancient Greece levels of misogyny. Wow.
You'd be surprised how base-awkward some people are despite what gen they are.
It's just the general, broad term for describing the organs as one whole, and most people accept it as such. Obviously the just one singular part, but getting anywhere near the is bad, as it can cause infection even if it's not in the urethra, but in the actual.
Ed is seriously lacking in some places. There are women that are having babies in 2023 that don't realize that and babies don't come from the same hole, and that's basic.
Seriously, this girl said, "This isn't right and I'm uncomfortable even though I'm being cared for by an adult. I'm going to, and that is so important." Incredible job raising such a smart little one.
On a more general note, this is one reason that true ed is so important, starting young. Little kids need to know about their bodies, and the names for their various parts, in case anyone should start abusing them. If a little girl is told she has a hoo-ha down there, and doesn't know what it's for, she's less likely to tell if someone touched her, and if she does tell, it's gonna be confusing. If a girl knows her anatomy, and the purpose of all her parts, she's more likely to speak up, and in a clearer way. Mill's ignorance is definitely probably already know all that, but I think it bears repeating. BC, it's so important.
You don't want pasta? See, since it's been boiled it's not real.
I'm a millennial and I wasn't informed about how to wipe correctly until I was in my 20s, and I consider myself very lucky to have never gotten UTIs or yeast infections.
Greater than a very strong and confident person she is becoming. Dad out here casually slipping into Yoda voice. Good on you, Pops.
NTA, and you should tell this story in R, Bad Women's Anatomy because it definitely belongs there.
It's fun raising girls who will become the kind of women that will the mouth breathers that want to hold women down.
I was born in the 50s and I was taught how to wipe properly.
Also, the fact that she can go to dad with these kind of problems shows that she has a good relationship with her dad, Red Heart.
Right? Like even with it being a private matter, aka something our generation would be embarrassed to talk about, she knew dad was the person to dad points.
Whereas I was born in the 80s and had to take baths under a waterproof cloak thing because looking at the body was a sin. People have different experiences and are taught different things. I'm so sorry for you. I gave my example solely to illustrate the point that this information has been known for decades.
Same. I was honestly so completely dumbfounded that no one in my entire life felt the need to teach me correctly until I reached my 20s. My own mother taught me how to wipe incorrectly. No one taught her correctly either. I had to be the one. Now let me tell you how fun of a conversation that.
Hey, that's the boat I'm in. I was literally in my 20s when I learned this little fact. I don't know if my mom ever even knew there was a right way. I'm 31 now and I still haven't figured out how to wipe front to back without getting on my hands or not getting all the way clean. I've had to compromise and do back to front on my but always stop as far as I can from my, then doing a run of front to back to keep that area clean. Not infections yet, so I think I've made it work, but boy do I feel like an idiot.